gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas. Thank you so much for joining me on this fine Saturday evening. I hope you've had a great weekend so far, and a special thank you to all of you who are spending it right here with me. And a thank you to all of you who might be listening to it or watching it after the fact. That's fine too. But we love it when you guys are able to come in and be a part of the shows, and I love it personally quite a bit. But anyway, hope you guys are doing great. I hope I got a great show lined up for you. It's just you and me and a whole lot of paranormal goodness, so I just whipped some up fresh right off the Paranormal Portal kitchens. There is no Paranormal Portal kitchen, really, but if you reach out with your mind, you can pretend there is. As always, throughout the course of our show, the phone lines will be working and running and operating. Had some great call-ins last night. Thank you guys to those of you who called in. We have, of course, to get through the news first, but after the news, if you want to call in, remember the phone number, 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun right here on the portal. I'll do my best to keep an eye on that phone line as much as I can, and on the chat. If throughout the course of our journey you want to point something out to me or make a comment and have me see it, I have the chat positioned right in front of me. And your best bet is to put the @ sign, the A with the circle around it. I've learned since I made the mistake the other night of calling it an ampersand. It's not an ampersand. That's an and, like that's, the and symbol. But it's the @ sign. So that's the same one that you use in the email addresses, but just do the @ sign with Paranormal Portal following it. And it should, in the YouTube chat, highlight that in orange. I don't know about the TFR chat. I don't think there's any way to really broadcast it in a better way for me to see. And I'll do my best to check that here and there. I know Bam oftentimes has some contributions, which I appreciate over there. So special welcome to all of you guys, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me right here on TFR. See what I did there? I think that's from Chris Geo, though. I think I ripped that off. But in any case, it's still a great line, and I really appreciate it. And those of you from YouTube, thank you for joining us as well. We got a bunch of you there. Let me just see where we're at with all of those bunches. Let's see who's in TFR. Right now it's Bam, Psycho Dave, Outgoing Specimen, and Magnificent Mind is in there. Okay. And let me pull up the YouTube chat and see who's in there. And that's, those of you that are chatting are what I'll see. But right now who's chatting is Android Purity, Daryl Zerline. Great to meet you, Daryl. That's a new name to me. Thanks for coming in. G's in there. Herman Vera, Ivan, whoa, his name disappeared. There he is. Ivan Freener. But somebody else came in. Buzzacino came in. Okay. Justin Goodearth, good to see you, brother. Lunatic Fringe, good to see you. Patrick McGuire, Rachel Gets It Right, Renee Cruz, and Sugar Britches. Sugar Britches. That's funny. I like all those names. Rachel Gets It Right. At Paranormal Portal, about Jason's story, the creature could have been a Kushtaka, land otter man shapeshifters from the Tlingit people of the Pacific Northwest. That's a great possibility. I'm not really familiar. I think I've heard that phrase or that term before, and I've heard the reference to them being otter people, but I don't know a lot about that possibility. It's a great idea to look into. And Jason, if you're out there listening, maybe you want to look into that to see if that kind of matches what you might have seen on that beach. So a really great call-in story from last night. And if you want to hear the entirety of it, check out last night's episode, either on YouTube or TFR, because we were on both places. But anyway, let's get to the news. Are you guys ready? Got some news ready for you. So let's get to the news. All right, folks, it's just me, Brent Thomas, as your anchor here on the Paranormal Portal News, and we got some stuff to go through here on the show. We've got some news articles that I hope you'll enjoy. Again, they're from Mysterious Universe. No, they're not. They're from unexplained-mysteries.com. Sorry, my mistake. I love Mysterious Universe as well, and we do utilize their articles. Brent sponsor on the show quite a bit, but this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it's kind of a good one. Let me copy this over to the TFR chat as well, because this has to do with a picture that was captured, and of course, those on TFR may want to check it out, and the link is now in the tfrlive.com/chat. If you're only listening and not watching, if you're on YouTube, you're going to see it right along with me. So this is Ghost Spotted in Hotel Window in the Stanley Hotel. Well, it's just in window was the headline, but I added a word. Oh yeah, there's something there, it looks like. And it looks like it's pulling back the curtain too. Jeez. It says a woman who's been on the ghost tour of the infamous hotel captured something unusual on camera. Kim Kimberly, who hails from Texas, had been on vacation at the hotel, famous for being the setting of Stephen King's The Shining, when she had what she believes to be a paranormal encounter. I decided to do one of the ghost tours of the hotel with my friends, she told CBS News. And they tell you to take pictures, so I took a ton. And you can ask my family. I take at least 2 to 3 pictures in a row of the same thing, which is actually a really good practice if you're ghost hunting or researching, because you want the befores, afters, any other sequences of events that are taken in the same place, so that, because sometimes the apparitions only last like a quick frame. You don't even see it with your eye, but it may be captured on film. Intriguingly, one of the photographs she took appeared to show a woman in white in one of the windows, while other pictures taken mere moments afterwards showed nothing. There was no one in the windows when I took those photos, she said. My friends were taking photos as well, and they didn't see it either until I looked back at my photos. Some people are saying curtains. The curtains are the exact same in every window. They are see-through, and if it was curtains, what is the dark areas that looks like hair and the skin tone color? If it was a mannequin, I would have seen it while taking the photo, and others would have got it on camera as well. Besides, I took a photo at 9:03 and 9:04, and it's there in one and not in the other. That is interesting. And there again on your screen if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it underneath that American flag there. They got 3 flags in a row, and it it really looks like they might have captured an apparition. It's possible anyway. I don't know. Without being there, I've never been there. I've never looked into what that should look like. If there's anything that might be there on that flagpole or something that might give that illusion around that drawstring. But if you look at these other flags, there's nothing on them. So why would there be something on this one? I don't know. It's possibly a very good capture, and that does look like a face. So I think there might be really something to that. Great capture. And congratulations, because that is incredibly hard. I mean, ghost hunting and ghost researching is really very much like trying to capture lightning in a bottle. I mean, you have to be at the exact right place at the exact right time with the exact right circumstances for something to pop off. It's not like they're there to entertain people, and maybe they do. Maybe there's some places where they're like, yeah, let's go entertain the tourists, But I think as a rule, mostly ghosts just want to be left alone. If they're earthbound for whatever reason, they just want to be left to do their thing. So, very cool capture. Very possible. Very possibly paranormal in nature. Obviously, we can't know for sure without having been there and without taking comparison pictures ourselves, but at least it looks on the surface like there might be something to it. Here's a nightmare for any diver. This is a horrible ordeal. I can't imagine what that's like, but I guess it ended well. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. It's man is swallowed and spat out by a whale. Jeez. Welcome to Jonah's story. A lobster diver got more than he bargained for on Friday when he had a close encounter with a humpback whale. It was early in the morning when 56-year-old Michael Packard, who had been lobster diving for years, entered the water off Cape Cod, Massachusetts, on his second dive of the day. As he reached the seafloor, however, he encountered something altogether unexpected. All of a sudden, I felt this huge shove, and the next thing I knew, it was completely black, he said. I could sense I was moving, and I could feel the whale squeezing with the muscles in his mouth. Without realizing it, he had inadvertently been swallowed by a huge humpback whale. I was completely inside. It was completely black, he said. I thought to myself, there's no way I'm getting out of here. I'm done. I'm dead. All I could think of was my boys. They're 12 and 15 years old. As luck would have it, however, the whale wasn't too keen on its latest meal. I saw a light, and he started throwing his head from side to side, and the next thing I knew, I was outside in the water, said Packard. He ultimately escaped from his close encounter with only a broken leg and a few other minor injuries. Wow, that is amazing. That guy was eaten. Well, I mean, he wasn't chewed. Thank God whales don't really chew. So it's much better a whale than a shark, apparently, because they'll just bite off chunks and work on you for a while. That's terrifying. Oh, my God, what a story. You heard it here, folks. But thanks to unexplained-mysteries.com. That's an incredible story. All their stories are incredible. That's why we utilize so many of them on the show. And check out unexplained-mysteries.com if you get a chance, because it's a great site. And then there's a lot of articles on there that we just don't read on the show, but there's a lot of great articles that I like reading. Oh, dear God. Yeah, I'm going to copy this link and put it into TFR as well, because this is kind of it's a story, but it's a very visual thing. So I'm going to put it in TFR Live for those that want to check it out and read along with us to see what it is that we're looking at now. But this is an article. Oh, God, that's disturbing as hell. Sorry, I don't mean to editorialize so much, but this is one of those things that it just makes you kind of freak. Makes me kind of freak anyway. The article is, man can turn his head almost 180 degrees. Oh, look at that photo. What the hell's going on? A weird video that has recently gone viral on TikTok shows a unique talent of a very flexible individual. Oh, some people are more flexible than others. However, there are very few who can do what this man is capable of. And a video of him showcasing his unusual ability has left many people squirming in their seats. Yeah, I can see why. That's not natural. I mean, that's like owl. That's like an owl kind of thing. The clip, which has since gone viral, shows the man holding onto his head with both hands and twisting it around so that he is literally facing backwards. Can you imagine? He's on the subway or something, also rotates its head to look at the person behind him. Oh, God. Several social media users have likened the stunt to something out of horror movie The Exorcist. According to Dr. Simran Dio, very few people possess the ability to do something like this. I suspect there are very few individuals that can truly do this, but one of the reasons they may be able to do this is due to hypermobile joints or connective tissue disorders, he told the LAD Bible. This is when the muscles, ligaments, and tendons are more stretchy, meaning that joints can bend further than they would in people without these conditions. Well, suffice to say, however, that this is one stunt that you definitely don't want to be trying at home. That's the article saying that, not me. That is weird. I remember seeing like a black and white video of a guy that could do this way back, but it's one of those things. I didn't think it was, I thought it was just some kind of anomaly for that guy, but apparently it can be done. Oh God, I just don't like seeing that though. Eesh, that kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. And no offense to the guy. I mean, it's probably great at parties and stuff, but, or making bets. I bet you I can turn my head around without moving my body. You probably win some money at a bar. Just saying. All right. The next article on our roster tonight is to do with the Sasquatch. Apparently there's a captured Sasquatch. Just saying. I might be sensationalizing that a little bit, but no more than the article itself. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it says, captured Sasquatch turns heads in Colorado, rather. From unexplained-mysteries.com, and it's an exhibit is what it is. A Bigfoot being transported from Ohio to Colorado managed to attract a fair amount of attention. When it comes to finding evidence of Bigfoot, the Holy Grail would no doubt be an actual live specimen, something so indisputable that it would put the entire debate over its existence to bed for good. Heads were certainly turning recently in Colorado, therefore, when a truck... reconnected. Okay, we reconnected, apparently. Apparently my streaming to YouTube crashed, but I guess we're back, so thank God. Sadly, it turned out the contents were not quite what they appeared to be. The crate actually contained a 7-foot mechanical Sasquatch designed and built by a skilled team at Unit 70 Studios in Columbus, Ohio. It was being taken to Sasquatch Outpost in Bailey by John Warren and Sherry Peterson. Having a blast, people are so curious, said Peterson. At one restaurant, the server said that she's been serving for 10 years and hoped to have a super interesting day one day. And she said, meeting us was it. There is a picture of the Sasquatch. That's actually a really good, I mean, if that's what it looks like, that's incredible. They got a news article attached to this. I'll put a copy of it if anybody wants to check out that news video that goes along with it. You certainly can. I'll put that in TFR as well, and I'll put it in the YouTube link so you guys can check it out. But I'm sure most of you Sasquatch enthusiasts out there have already heard of this, but maybe not. Let's see, where the hell's YouTube chat? I keep losing it. And that goes so many ways. All right, I'm looking at the chat now. Did I miss anything? Paranormal Portal Radio. Oh, thank you, Julia. I appreciate that. All right, so there's the link for the mechanical Sasquatch that was making the rounds. And, obviously it's not the real thing because there's a big warning label on it, Sasquatch inside. And very cool, though. Good gimmick. I'm sure that was great advertising all across the country. That's really cool. All right, so that was that article. Let's go back. I think we got one more to get through before the night is over. And I don't know if you can hear that buzzing, but I live next to a hospital, so you always hear them taking off. I guess I got two more. And this is kind of interesting because apparently these people that are featured in this, the subject of this article, took their cues from the Bible and made a replica of Noah's Ark. And let's get to that. This is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And again, this isn't to bash anybody's religion or faith or whatever, but it's an interesting story. Huge Noah's Ark replica deemed unseaworthy. A giant wooden replica of the biblical vessel has been detained where it is docked in Ipswich, England. Measuring 230 feet in length, the unique vessel, which was built after the idea came to Dutch millionaire Johan Hubers in a dream, is the smaller of two replica arks that he built in the Netherlands. It was later purchased for 3 million euros by Dutch TV and theater producer Ed Peters, who had intended for it to become a talking point for people from a wide range of different backgrounds. Inside the vessel is fitted out with an array of biblical museum exhibits intended for visitors to browse. Unfortunately, however, it doesn't look as though it will be going anywhere anytime soon, as evidenced by the response to a recent Freedom of Information request by the East Anglian Daily Times. According to the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, MCA, the huge wooden vessel is unsafe and, as such, has been detained at its current dock in Ipswich, England. The vessel, Noah's Ark, will remain detained until all the deficiencies have been put right, and a Maritime and Coast Guard Agency surveyor has invited back by the owners to check that they have made it correct. The full-size version of the Ark, which is almost twice the length of this one, and is known as Johan's Ark, was opened as a museum in Dordrecht, Netherlands. However, its current status is also unclear. Whether either vessel will ever be capable of crossing the ocean again remains to be seen. That's enormous, though. That's what is it, half the size of the original? Huh. It's the smaller. What did they say? The full size, almost twice the length. Wow. So it's almost 460 feet. So that's a huge thing. I don't know how big this is just looking at it, but it looks enormous. That's amazing. But there you have it. Somebody's built replicas of Noah's Ark. And I think that's a beautiful endeavor in and of itself, but apparently they're not seaworthy as is. But then again, Noah probably didn't have to get his boat inspected first. So it probably was easier back then to get something on the water. That's a cool article. Now, here's something that's kind of encouraging, I think. This is more science-y, but it's not a horribly long thing, but it deals with wormholes. And I like this idea that there's wormholes, because I think in the paranormal we see examples of that quite often. That people tend to step through these gateways of sorts and into a whole different place, which almost is like a micro wormhole. So, and of course, wormholes were featured in Interstellar. That was kind of how they went into all these different versions of reality and stuff, and pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it says real-life wormholes may not be that far-fetched. It might sound like science fiction, but the idea of linking two black holes together actually does have some merit. On the face of it, a wormhole might seem like a straightforward concept. Link two black holes in different parts of the cosmos to create a tunnel through which a space traveler could pass. In reality, however, it's not quite that simple. It's certainly an idea that has been around for a while. Physicist Albert Einstein and Nathan Rosen took a very serious look at the concept in connection with Einstein's general theory of relativity. Even today, scientists are still attempting to determine if wormholes could actually work in practice. Although we've never discovered or observed an actual wormhole, some physicists believe that they could exist, albeit with some caveats that have yet to be overcome. For one, the gravitational attraction between the wormhole and the matter passing through it would force it to close, thus requiring the involvement of some form of exotic matter to keep it open. Secondly, the process involved would make a wormhole microscopic in size, a far cry from the wormhole in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, for instance, which is traversable by entire fleets. These issues haven't stopped scientists from working on the problem, however, with studies involving the use of quantum entanglement, for instance, showing some promise in maintaining stability. Increasing the size of the wormhole, however, still represents something of a challenge. So while we are certainly a long way from providing or proving that wormholes through space could actually exist, it would also be a stretch at this point to conclude that they could never exist at all. Huh. Well, there you have it. Wormholes. They could be a thing. They might really be out there. I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about the physics of it to even have an opinion, but I think that's pretty interesting stuff. But what do I know, folks? I'm just some knucklehead with a show. I don't know. I love exploring these ideas because I think they're awesome. I think it's absolutely wonderful to think of, how our children or grandchildren might be able to accomplish so much more because of the things that we're learning today. And I love technology. I really do. I just think that for the most part, it seems like it's kind of a liability as well as a leap forward, because for every good application, there almost seems like there's more bad applications of it. And I don't know. What do you do? You're welcome, Bam. You're welcome, brother. But anyway, let me look at the chat and make sure I haven't missed anything there. We're about going to the first break, which is just moments away here. We're at about the 2-minute mark, so we're getting there. Oh, Buzzacino, what if Mothman uses portals or wormholes and is actually coming through to get their kids back who wandered through? I guess anything's possible. I don't know what's on the other side of that. But, it's not necessarily a trans-dimensional thing, though. Like wormholes and that idea, I think, are just ways to link space. But maybe they would link dimensions, too. I don't know. That's a lot. That's way out of my pay grade, unfortunately. I just don't know too much about this stuff. But I think it's exciting because, again, I know that if tomorrow we could journey through the stars, I would really want to sign up. I would really want to sign up and just go see everything that I could possibly see, because I think that's exciting. I think looking up at the stars at night is amazing, but the ability to go see what's going on in those places, I think would be off the charts, way cool. But I don't know. Could the Mothman be utilizing them? Sure. I mean, there's portals, then there's wormholes. I don't know if they're one and the same. I don't know. They could be both a very different thing, or they could be very similar. I really just don't understand enough about the physics to render a real opinion on that, but anything's possible. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're about to go to the first break of the night. And I just hope those of you that are new to the program understand that we are broadcasting on TFR Live, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And so we got to take breaks to stay in because the networks have to take the break. So we will be right back in just a moment. I don't know. I thought I heard something and then it disappeared. So hopefully it's going good. But anyway, there it is.
More than just a heart tonic. Do you have any of these symptoms? Night cramps in the hands and feet. Your arms and legs often go to sleep. On short walks.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I was just reading the chat, and Rachel gets it right in the YouTube chat. Said, "Hey, if Paranormal Portal was a Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor, what would it be called?" And so the suggestions are coming in. So I don't know. What would it be called? I don't know. I got nothing. It's funny. I love checking out the chats because you guys have a whole different thing going on. It's like there's a show going on, and still you guys manage to have these whole side conversations and be a part of the show. So that's great. Fantastic. But anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our half hour number 2. Again, the phone lines are open. If you've got a paranormal experience of your own, you'd like to call in and share it, I'd love to hear it. And you can also email them, but if you email them, I'm not going to read them on tonight's show, but maybe a future show, maybe even a future podcast, because I often take listener emails and narrate them and use them for the podcast, which is not this. This is the YouTube show. The podcast is audio only and is available on all of the major platforms. So wherever you listen to podcasts on, just do a search for Paranormal Portal and you should find us if you're interested. No, it would not be called that. Julia says Paranormal Portal, the ice cream would be beard berries and Portal Blast. Oh, no. I just think of beard berries as like Don eating something and not getting it out of his beard. That's what beard berries sounds to me. And I don't want to think about that. I'm just imagining Don with like food chunks hanging in his beard, and it's not appetizing at all. Love Don, love him with all my soul, but that's not beard berries. Great to see you guys. Hi, Brad. Good to see you. Death Metal Dogman, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. All right, we got a bunch more paranormal goodness here on the buffet of our show tonight. Here's one that, wait, I did read. No, I didn't. Did I read this? God, this is from justforspooks.com. And I think I ended it because we got phone calls. That's right. We've only got a couple to go on this list, so I want to get it done so I can close it out and clear it from my tabathon that I got going on my browsers here. If you guys knew how many open tabs I have at any given time, you might wonder how my computer stays running. Paranormal Portal swirl, vanilla ice cream and chocolate and caramel swirls. Doesn't sound bad. That sounds kind of good. Sounds wonderful. Good job, Android. All right. So we're going to start on number 15 of this article, which I've been going through for several shows. And why not just three more entries? And this is number 15 of our list from justforspooks.com. Creepiest reality questioning experiences. Number 15. When I was a kid between 8 and 9, I used to wake up every night to headlights coming through my bedroom window. The lights would then stop and turn off, not as if a car drove by, but as if they were just turned off, and then long shadows of a man, as if it were looking through my window, would pass by and stop in front of my window. I would lay really still and pretend nothing happened every night for months. Eventually, I convinced myself it was just my imagination. Now that I think back, it stopped when my stepdad moved in. My mom was single, but I was convinced it wasn't real. Across the street lived my best friend, whose mom was also single, and she refused to sleep in her bedroom. Her window faced my window, and she told me years later it was because every night a man would park on her side yard and walk over to my yard. The long shadows were from the light in her yard, and she eventually decided it was my dad checking on us and never told me until I was a teenager. It wasn't my dad because I asked him. So I thought I was crazy and hallucinating for years, and perhaps I wasn't. Or two kids were having their odd dreams at the same time every night. That's weird. That's submitted by Miss Awesomeness. Yeah, you know, people looking in your windows is plenty creepy. I mean, it's just, if it's a Bigfoot, at least you can give them a latitude that they just don't understand that we think that's weird. You know, that have someone snooping at the window. But if it's another human being, that is just awful. That's just creepy awful. I don't know. That would be horrible. Number 16. I was playing with our dog in the living room. At the time, I was around 9 years old, and we were doing our usual only play like this when mom isn't home, else she'll tell us to stop type of playing. So basically, playing fetch in the living room. At one point, I threw the toy, which caused it to ricochet out of the living room into the kitchen. Franz, our dog's name, chased it and disappeared around the corner to get it. At that exact moment, the front door opened and Mom walked in with Franz on a leash after a 2-hour walk over the beach and dunes. I tried to explain, but I can't. I played with him for at least 15 minutes in apparently my imagination, but I just don't believe that. That was by the fail snail. That's really weird. Wonder what was going on there. Is that, I mean, so is that a tulpa of some kind? Is it a doppelganger thing? Is it, what could that be? That's really weird. So I'm guessing the dog never came back with the toy that time. Very strange. Number 17, that was by the fail snail, by the way, who submitted that one to this article. Number 17 out of 17. When I was 15, I was home alone hanging out upstairs in my bedroom. At the time, we had 2 small dogs, and I was sitting in my room watching TV when the dogs started going crazy, barking downstairs. It wasn't uncommon for them to bark when a person walked by or came to the door, or I just stayed in my room and thought nothing of it at first. Well, they kept barking nonstop for probably about 10 minutes before I finally got fed up and decided to go downstairs to tell them to stop it. The stairs in my house led into the kitchen, and as soon as I reached the bottom, I saw him. A very tall man in a pea jacket. Not sure what a pea jacket is. Is that a color or is that a type of jacket? And a top hat stood in the doorway between my kitchen and dining room. I could see no face. I bolted back upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom, where I called my parents. In the time I was waiting for them to come home, I began hearing several seemingly aggravated male voices outside the bathroom door. I was absolutely terrified. Well, eventually my aunt arrived at my house to check on me. The voices faded, and I was able to calm down. About 2 years ago, I got a phone call from my mother telling me she had been reading the local very small town paper, and there was an article in it about my childhood home written by the town historian. The house, built in 1805, had once been a local gathering spot for the elite of the small village. The first floor, now the kitchen, dining room, and living room, had once been a parlor and tavern of sorts, while the second floor of the house functioned as a dance hall. Things in the house had been rearranged a bit. The staircase, being one of those things, had been moved from what was now a second floor bedroom closet, which would exit downstairs between the kitchen and the dining room. My family was slightly aware of this, but never had the exact details of it. Very cool, I thought, until my mom continued reading. In 1836, there was an, quote, accident. 3 men got into an argument about their differing political views, 2 of them against the other. The disagreement ended with the 3rd man being pushed over the railing at the top of the stairs, landing at the base of the stairs, where he slowly suffered from and eventually succumbed to his injuries. The spot where he died was the exact spot I had seen the faceless man in the top hat almost 15 years ago. My mom clipped the news article, and my father framed it and hung it in the dining room, right near the doorway into the kitchen. An hour later, while my father was home alone, he heard a crash. Upon investigation, he found the clipped article in its shattered frame, laying face down, 15 feet from where he had hung it. I always knew what I had seen and heard was supernatural. Now you'll never convince me otherwise. You'll also never convince me to stay in that house alone again. That was kittens, not kids. Kittens, not kids. Okay, not kittens, not. It's kittens, not kids. Okay. Well, I love kittens and kids. So. Well, that's really wild, though. Apparently that was very much an intelligent haunting of somebody that was stuck. It's Not good. Not good at all. Not that everyone doesn't appreciate a man in a top hat, but not faceless. That's creepy. All right, that does it for that article, which I've now closed, so I probably won't reread it. I have a tendency to do that. So many open tabs, and I forget which ones I'm reading and where. So I think that's all. That's all for that one. Okay. All right, let me just check the phones. We're good. All right, nothing in the chat I missed. Good. All right, let me get to the next article, and this one is just for spooks.com as well. 10 people reveal their biggest paranormal experiences. Now, these are kind of a grab bag of fun in terms of what they can be. Some of them are haunting, some of them are UFOs, some of them are, many other types of experiences, but they're all creepy. Let's get to the first one here. And this was, let's see if it gives us any credit, because I like to say who wrote them. It says on a recent thread, Redditors were asked, what's the most paranormal experience you've experienced? Here's the 10 most terrifying answers. All right, let's check it out. Let me bring it up so you guys can read along if you want. The first one is, when the house we live in today was for sale, we went with our realtor for a tour. The 80-plus-year-old lady who lived there at the time was there. She stayed in the corner bedroom on a bed and read a book while we looked around. After we left, my wife and I thought it was strange that she hung out in that room and not the master bedroom. That the bed in the master didn't look like it had been slept in a while, and that the master bath had clearly not been used in a long time. Once we bought the house, the neighbor told us that the old lady didn't like to spend any time in the master suite anymore because that's where her husband Ray had died. Fast forward a few years, my wife is out for the day, so it's just me and our 3-year-old and our baby at the house. After putting the baby down for a nap, I asked my 3-year-old to hang out in the bedroom while I grabbed a quick shower. I got one of these toys a few days before that had been having a lot of trouble figuring it out. I went in the shower and left him on the bed with that toy and a few others. When I was in the shower, I thought I heard him talking to somebody. Maybe my wife had come home early, but then when I got out, it was still just me and him. Now, though, he was sitting on the bed, proficiently working the gyro toy. I told my kid I was happy that he figured it out, and he replied, "Oh, it's easy now that Grandpa Ray showed me how it works." Grandpa Ray stepping in. Now, see, that's a cool presence. I mean, obviously the guy's still there. So Cinch123 submitted that. That's pretty awesome. Just for spooks.com. Yep. Number 2 on this list is when I was 11 years old. I woke up one night and I saw a man standing in my room, opening and closing my dresser drawers. He was tall, pale, and shiny, but he looked corporeal, not translucent or ghostly or anything. I couldn't move at all, but I peed myself instantly. I shut my eyes as tight as I could, but when I opened them, he was still there, opening and closing drawers. I kept my eyes closed for a long time, and finally, after what seemed like hours, he was gone. The next morning, a lot of my shirts and pants were tied in knots. I came to the conclusion that I had a very vivid dream, and perhaps my sister just played a joke on me by tying my clothes in knots. Flash forward 15 years, we had long since moved out of the house, and no one had lived there since. I stopped by one day with my mom and 2 aunts who had lived in the same house when they were kids. When we walked into my bedroom, my mom and my older aunt started teasing my younger aunt about the silver man she saw one time. My jaw hit the floor. That was by Sci-Fi Wrestler. That is weird. What is that? And why would it tie the clothes in knots? That's very strange. I don't know what a silvery apparition would be. That's very odd. And it seems like it sounds like it's there for real and it's manipulating objects. So it's not just a residual thing, because residuals are more like a recording and they don't really interact with the physical or the people. But this thing made it so the person couldn't move and then opened the drawers and just tied their clothes in knots, like some kind of weird OCD or something. It's just very strange. I don't know what to make of that. That's a strange claim. I don't doubt that it could be real. It's just I don't know what to do with that information, you know? It's like generally in the show, most of the stuff seems to fit categories of things that I've heard about. But every once in a while you hear about these really bizarre things that don't seem to fit anywhere. Very weird. All right, number 3 of this list, my uncle died a couple of years ago of cancer. A month later, my sister told me that she was having a dream completely unrelated to him, when suddenly he appeared to her, smiled, and said, "Hey, I'm fine now." Well, she woke up crying because she felt that he was finally at peace. A week later, I was having a dream, and suddenly my uncle appeared and smiled at me. I looked at him and said, "Phil?" He smiled and shrugged as if to say, "Yeah, it's me. You can guess why I'm here, because your sister already told you." And I then woke up. In all honesty, it probably was just my subconscious reacting to what my sister had told me. But it was nice nonetheless. There's no T at the end of that. I don't know, because I've had many of those profound dreams where people that have passed have come to me. And honestly, they're not like normal dreams. They are so real. I talked to my dad a couple times in my dreams, and it was as real, even in some ways more real than me sitting here doing this show. It was so profound, so focused. There was no oddities or any weirdness that I usually have in my dreams, like, talking to people that I don't know, but believing they're my best friend or something, or in a place that I believe is my home in the dream. But then when I wake up, it's like, I don't know that place. What the hell is that? And, take it or leave it, whatever those are. But in the dreams where I've met family that have passed away or loved ones that have passed away, I'm always in this really profound moment with them. And it's just super real. Smells, the sensations of touch and the presence is the same. And whether you believe that or not, is entirely up to you all. But for me, those are very real experiences. So I don't know. I think that that's probably just, and I've said it many times on the show, but I think that in our dream state is probably the easiest for them to make contact with us, because our conscious normal mind is kind of out of the way. And so they can push through that easier and say, "Hey, I'm good. Great to see you." Just my ideas, just my 2 cents, but it is my 2 cents. All right, number 4. When we were supposed to visit my grandparents for Easter, and this dream was on the Thursday night before Good Friday, my pappy, who I adored, picked me up in his 64 Mustang, and we drove to a large building like a very skinny church. Well, I got out of the car and looked back, and he said, "You go without me." Well, I walked in, and the hallway inside was lined with my family and friends that had been at my aunt's V's funeral the year before, all standing with their heads down and their hands folded in front of them. I walked down the hallway to the end where my Aunt Dee was waiting behind a large desk. She reached out and put her hand over my hand and said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." I woke up early for me and wondered about the dream and told my mom, and she said that since I had such a wonderful time at Aunt V's funeral, we believe that they are a celebration of the life lived, that it meant I would have a good time at my grandparents'. Right after school started, I was called to the office, and it turned out my pappy had a massive heart attack that morning and had passed away. They called after they took him to the hospital, and he was letting me know that it would be okay. That was by Kathleen. Number 5. My grandma had a story of how she was getting ready for sleep one night as a child, and her dad was elsewhere traveling by car. She was drifting off to sleep when she was awoken by what sounded like her dad saying, "Vivian," which is her name, really loudly. She sat up in bed and said, "Dad?" back, but remembered he wasn't there and figured it was nothing and went back to sleep. Later, when her dad got home, he told her that while he was driving, he started to drift off, and he was about to drive off the road when he heard her voice saying, "Dad?" And whoever submitted that deleted their name. But very, very cool story. That's like divine intervention, you know? That's really powerful. Number 6 on this list of amazing occurrences. I studied abroad in Italy my junior year of college and lived at this old castle. The students stayed in what is affectionately called the Croft. Every night we would hear noises like somebody walking, but we would just assume it's the old wood creaking or somebody going to use the restroom. One weekend, the whole group, except me and 2 others, decided to go to Milan for the weekend. Well, one evening, as I lay in bed reading a book and waiting for my friend to get back from the library, I distinctly heard the sounds of the Croft door open and close. I then heard halting steps on the stairs. These were not subtle creaks, but obvious footsteps. So I assumed it was my friend or his girlfriend coming back, so of course I thought nothing of it. Then the steps began to sound closer and closer to my door. But I heard no voices, and an unexpected chill crawled down my spine. I felt nervous, so I yelled, "Is that you, Dave?" The sound stopped outside my door. But again, no one spoke. I was starting to become terrified when I heard my friend and his girlfriend walking down the path outside, and I immediately stuck my head out the window and called out to them and asked who was in the Croft. They replied that no one but me was in there. I didn't even hesitate. I jumped out the window, and the moment I was out, I heard the door to my room slam open and heard what I can only describe as a whispered scream of rage. No one in the group ever believed me, but I asked the castle's cook about it, and she explained that there were ghosts in the Croft, 3 in fact. One little girl that liked to play pranks, 1 weeping woman, and 1 malicious man with a hate for the living. Jeez, Light FX Phoenix submitted that one. That's crazy. You know, I don't know. Some of those, and maybe it's a function of them being earthbound for so long, but perhaps there's a madness that comes with it. You know, that maybe if they're earthbound so long and they're kind of already twisted, that twisting just becomes worse and more grotesque, and they just become angry and vile, and that becomes some of the darkness that we encounter, you know. I don't know. It's got to twist you up a little bit, though, just being earthbound in the same place over and over for maybe hundreds of years. What would that do to your mind? I don't know. Let's see, where are we at? 2 minutes. I guess this is not a 2 minutes. I might be able to read this one. Number 7. Growing up, I used to spend the night at a house that was, in my opinion, haunted. My friend lived there with her family, and they all thought nothing of the sinks turning themselves on and off at night. Sporadically, not a drip, mind you, but a full-on sink for 3 seconds and then nothing. It would wake me up every time and scare the hell out of me. Other haunted stuff in this house. The TV turned itself on sometimes. Changed channels by itself. That happened here, by the way. True story. One time we laid in bed upstairs talking, and the TV turned on and started slowly flipping through different channels of static. My friend's bedroom was a bonus room. She had the door to the attic in her ceiling. So if we stayed up talking too late, we would hear warped wood start creaking back and forth across the door. So scary when you're all of 14 years old. The worst thing was, this is the thing that made me officially stop going over to her house. One time the whole family packed up and went to Sam's Club to go shopping. And as a bored 14-year-old, I came with them. The mom locked up the house as usual. We shopped for 30 minutes tops and came home. When her mom went inside, she tried flipping on the lights. It didn't work. She said, "I wonder if the power's out," and tried other lamps. Nothing. After a swift check of the house, it was discovered that all the light bulbs in the house had been moved to the 4 corners of the living room. I don't know why, but I remember crying when we discovered them. For some reason, it was deeply scary for me. That was by Cadmium Red. Yeah, that's really strange. That's just a really nuisance kind of thing. I don't know. It could be a sign of things worsening or whatever, but that's a profound, I don't know, psychic or telekinetic event. psychokinetic maybe, where it's actually taking all the light bulbs in the whole house and putting them in 4 corners of one room. I don't know. That's very creepy. We got about 42 seconds, so we'll leave the last 3 for when we come back. So, again, we're going to go to our break, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you don't go away. Again, we do these for the station breaks for the networks that we're also broadcasting on. So just stick with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of the Paranormal Portal.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, ripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Caroline is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeist are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are of fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Welcome to hour number 2, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going through the Paranormal Portal. Hope you guys are enjoying the ride so far. Thank you all for being here. As always, it's a distinct pleasure to be doing this journey with you all. Thank you, thank you. And spread the word. Keep the word spread. Just spread it. Spread it like butter. Like butter. Or peanut butter. Whatever you like. Spread it like that. All right, we got a phone call on the horn here. It says, let's see what's going on. To speak to the Paranormal Portal, please press number 1. Are you there, Brad?
Hey, this is Matt, Android Purity.
Oh, Matt! Sorry. I just
That's all right. I thought I wasn't unmuted there for a second. You confused me.
I tripped over my own joke. It was going to be funny. It was really hilarious in my head. It didn't work out so well. But that's the joy of broadcasting
right,
live. I can't rehearse this stuff. I just got to do it live, you know. So how you doing, brother?
Yeah, they're pretty good, man. How about you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Been a really busy week so far, but it's been a good week. I think I'm making great progress on things, so that always is encouraging. But what brings you to your call tonight, sir?
Well, the experience yesterday kind of reminded me of, it wasn't really a similar experience, but it reminded me of an experience that I had. I touched on it briefly, kind of gave the short version of the story or the experience back the first time I called back in October. Mm-hmm. The experience yesterday, the guy called explaining about that witch-looking thing on the beach, and that he thought it looked like a kind of like a witch.
Yeah.
The first paranormal experience I ever had in my life. I'll give you the long story of exactly what happened with that. It was when I was 11 or 12. I was at my grandmother's house. Now, this house was like a Cape Cod style house in West Virginia. And originally when my father lived there, I think when he was younger, or at least before he was born, it was a different house or a different family that lived upstairs. Like it was like a duplex. Mm-hmm. And there was a totally separate entrance for the upstairs. So a totally different family, totally separate kitchen, all that stuff. And when that family had moved out, my grandmother had bought that second level. And so most or all of his life that he grew up in that house, his bedroom was upstairs. Mm-hmm. And when we would come and visit, we would always stay in the bedroom upstairs and sleep. And I would always sleep in the bedroom he grew up in.
Okay.
And it had a bathroom attached to it, like kind of like an ensuite bathroom that was attached to there. And it also, inside that bathroom, there was a little door, like it was literally only a 3-foot tall door. It was like a fun house looking play door. It was always and it just went into like a little loft space where you had to like bend over to go in there. And my grandmother just kept like chests in there with blankets and stuff. And it was always cool in there and creepy. And I always got a creepy feeling from that place. Mm-hmm. But one day I was in that bathroom And I was in there brushing my teeth, and it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. So it wasn't dark. It was, bright, sunny day out, or it was very sunlit outside. And I was the only one upstairs by myself. Everybody else was downstairs, and I was just brushing my teeth, getting ready for the day. And, as I mentioned, I was 11 or 12 years old, and I'm sitting there, and I'm standing in front of the mirror at the sink, looking at myself in the mirror, brushing my teeth back and forth. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just hear, it's as clear as day. It wasn't like a faint noise. It didn't sound far away. It sounded like it was literally right in the very next room, like literally maybe 6 feet around the corner or something. And when I play a sound effect, I was actually doing some searching to see if I could try and find like a short YouTube clip or something that sounded very much similar to what I sounded. So this is very similar to what it sounded like here.
Okay. Oh.
So I don't know if you got to hear that,
Yep,
but it sounded very much like that.
Like a witch's cackle, yeah, or on a classical cartoon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded very similar to that. And it was like a very loud, laughing cackle, and it was so loud, like it literally sounded like the person was standing in the bedroom that was attached, doing that laugh.
Wow.
And I remember looking at myself in the mirror, because I'm looking at myself in the mirror while I'm brushing my teeth. As soon as I heard it, and it literally went on for like 3 seconds long. So very long laughing cackle. I remember my eyes just got huge, just like when you see in the cartoons, like looking at myself in the mirror, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, I had to go. The only way to get out of there was the way that the sound came from, and so I just had to muster up the courage to just creep around the corner, creep through the bedroom, and then I went out into the hallway, looked up and down the hallway. I didn't see or hear anything, but it just I don't know if it was just the experience that made me feel that way, but it was just everything just felt so quiet and so still, and I was just standing there listening, and I literally just, at that moment, I was just heaviness, like something was watching me or something, just took off running, literally almost jumped the banister to go downstairs, ran downstairs. My parents and my grandmother were sitting, in the living room right at the bottom of the stairs, and I said, did you guys hear that? And they were like, what? Hear what? And I'm like, there was this really, really loud laugh, a lady laughing upstairs. Mm-hmm. It sounded exactly like a witch's cackle. And they were like, no, we didn't hear anything. And they had the TV on, but they just had it on. My grandmother would play the TV kind of like background noise sometimes, just at a very low volume. Uh-huh. And so I explained to them what happened, and my dad, was like, well, maybe, it was the TV. And I said, no, you don't have the volume on loud enough. There's no way I would have heard that upstairs. And he goes, oh, well then, it must have been someone walking by outside. And I thought about it for a minute, and I was like, well, the window was kind of close to me. Mm-hmm. And I took it, I believed him. I said, okay, that must have been what it is, Sure. And I didn't think much of it ever until I had that other paranormal experience later in my life. And now looking back on it, I'm like, well, if it really was that, they definitely would have heard it too if it was somebody out front laughing too, because they were also in the front of the house. So the room I was in the front of the house, and they were also in a room that was in front of the house. And the room that they were in also had a double window out front too. Mm. So that noise would have came inside, and since they had the TV on a low volume, they definitely would have heard that too. So I still, to this day, have no explanation to what happened there.
That's pretty intense. I wonder about stuff like that, because those crones, and certainly that's been tied to sleep paralysis. A lot of times people report witnessing an old crone and possibly drawing off their energy or their life force, or who knows what it's doing. But it goes hand in hand with sleep paralysis. Did you ever experience that?
No, I never experienced that there. And, as I got older, after I, had that experience in my backyard with seeing that orb with the footsteps and everything, I asked when I told my father about that experience, I literally, ran upstairs and told him, because when that happened that night. Yeah. And so he believed me now that I brought this experience of the laugh back up. Back then it was 11 or 12. He probably thought it was my imaginative imagination.
Yeah.
But now that I'm an adult and I tell him, I still remember this happening very vividly, he believes me that it happened, but he still is not sure, what it was. And I asked him, I said, did you ever, growing up there have any, unusual experiences? And he says no. So that's what's most mind-boggling about it to me, But, another family did live up there for a long time before them, so it's hard to say, or who knows, if those old hags or whatever they're called, if they're able to travel, house to house, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it is, and it's absolutely frightening. In fact, that you brought up that story, I think his name was Jason, that had called in and shared his story of being on the beach and seeing that old crone. They've had a lot of people, giving ideas of what it could be. One person brought up Baba Yaga, and that's a legendary spirits, or I don't know what she is. She's not really a spirit, but she's something else. But she's an old crone-looking thing that apparently runs around in a house that has chicken feet, that walks around like her house moves around or whatever. But I've actually heard of people that have possibly witnessed that phenomenon, not of the house so much as encountering an old crone that seemed to have another person in thrall and was dragging him around, was one story that was shared on the show. That was quite a while ago. But, there's other people that have thought maybe that it was an aged Sasquatch. And I don't know how much light there was on that beach when he experienced that. It sounds like it was a nighttime sighting, but it was able to see the face of it well enough. But I wondered if it was a Sasquatch, because sometimes they have very human looking faces. And perhaps it was a aged female that was actually down, either just crouching and sitting there, rasping, breathing and watching, or was it on all fours, maybe creeping up, but then they saw it and it just kind of froze like they do. And I don't know that that's the answer either, but whatever that, there is a phenomenon where people see these old crones. And it was on a episode of Ghost Adventures where I think they were over in Ireland, or at least in the UK somewhere, looking into old castles. And maybe it was actually they were looking into Vlad Tepes's castle. I don't remember. That might be it. But Aaron was off on his own with whoever the camera guy is. Or maybe he was really on his own and just had one of those face cams that always show who they are. But he caught a recording of that kind of cackling laugh. And it was really, really bizarre. And you kind of attribute stuff like that with old castles, like, well, maybe they had some crazy old hag that was part of the castle and just is still there. But I don't know. I don't know what that phenomena is, to be honest with you, whether it was human or maybe it was never human and it's just some other kind of spiritual anomaly. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that those crones are real beings or entities of some sort from my experience and from what I've heard. I saw an episode of, I don't know, Paranormal Witness or some show like that where there's paranormal witnesses, and there was a guy who went to he was doing oil drilling work, and he traveled to North Carolina or North Dakota or something like that, and he was staying in this housing that they had for the drillers. And he kept waking up every night suffocating, and he couldn't figure out why. He was literally felt like he was going to die some nights, and then he finally, he started having, I think, other paranormal experiences in there. So he asked to switch places, and then a new guy came in and moved to the one he was in, which was next door. He just moved next door to the next unit, and he said he woke up in the middle of the night, and it sounded like he heard it pounding and gasping the next door. And then the next morning, he woke up and found that the guy had died of a heart attack.
Oh.
And it happened to hit the day or two after he moved out of there, a couple days after he moved out of there. Oh, yeah, and also I think that he said that the last night, right before he moved there, he did see a figure of an older lady or something, or shaggy hair or something on top of him. The other nights he didn't see it. It was just the night where he literally almost got him or something like that.
Right.
And then he finally, it's when he got the courage to tell him, he didn't tell him what he saw or what was happening. He just said he needs to get out of there because he doesn't like that unit, or forget what excuse he gave. But then he moved to the unit next door, and then he woke up to pounding and gasping the next day. And I guess his bedroom was just on the other side of the wall from the other guy. on the next unit that he was just in, that he moved from, and then he just like ignored it, whatever that noise was. He was like a little concerned, I guess, but then next day he found out that the guy died of or what they said was a heart attack.
Right.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people that experience the old crone thing say that it perches on their chest, and just sits there and they can't move. They can't get it off, until something breaks that. Now, to any of you listening, in case you ever wake up and see an old crone in your face, definitely use prayer. That seems to consistently, from what I've heard, be pretty effective. But asking for help spiritually, but that is horrible. I can't imagine. That would be so terrifying.
Yeah, and I imagine, they talk about, people say, oh, well, why does, paranormal activity always happen at night? Well, this happened during the day. I mean, it was the only paranormal experience big, serious paranormal experience I had that was during the day. But it can definitely happen during the day. But my theory is that if it happens during the day, for some reason, I just have a hunch. It's just my own personal theory that if it happens during the day, it's probably a really powerful entity for it to happen during the day. I just always have had a kind of a thought or a theory that in the past few years that if it happens during the day, it must be kind of powerful. And I think that the reason that, stuff is more active at night than during the day, I mean, it does happen during the day, but it's more active during the night just because my theory is that for some reason, maybe the sun rays or something like that, or it's like suppresses the energy or something. That's just my theory or something.
It could be because we've had a guest on the show, Lisa Martin, who's a paranormal investigator and has written several books of the hauntings in Missouri and such. And she said that she got an EVP once, her and her team, that, they were just trying out the UV light, because that's, some people use UV in contrast to infrared in order to try to see these spirits. And they got an EVP on their recorder that said, it burns. Like that. So
wow.
Maybe there is something to that the UV light is really not as great for those night faring, type of spirits. So you might be onto something there.
That's true.
Anybody's guess.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think in the Ghost Ventures, they did talk about having a camera that saw in different spectrums. So maybe the spectrum of light that that those entities are using just kind of conflict with the sun rays or something, or UV light.
Could be, yeah. It's hard to know, brother, but those are great ideas, and I really appreciate you calling in and being a part of the show tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I just thought it was very, reminded me of my experience. So I wanted to kind of connect the two together. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again. And if anything else comes up, definitely call in. I'll be waiting for you.
Awesome, man. Good talking to you.
All right. Good talking to you too, Matthew. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Very cool. I love when you guys call in. It gives me so much to work with. Otherwise, you just got to work with whatever I dug up. Sometimes they're good, and sometimes they're just okay. But when you guys call in, when you guys call in, it's always wonderful. I always appreciate that. So, let's see. Oh, sorry again. I drank a big gulp of water there and kind of came back on me. Sorry about that. Don't mean to be rude, but we're on number 8 of our list. We've got about 7 minutes before the last break of the night. So let's see if we can get through the last 3 stories here. It's number 8 of our list here is my father. Whenever somebody dies in his side of the family, a crow comes to him in his dreams and squawks the person's name. It happened the first time to him as a 6-year-old when his dad died, and then ever since. Once every couple of years, he gets up in the morning and says, "The crow came again," takes the day off of work and just waits for the call. I haven't seen him be wrong yet. And whoever submitted that didn't leave their name on it. That's really interesting. So for him, he gets his news from a crow. Now, crows are often depicted as these real negative signs, but really they're not. They're an incredibly powerful totem of sorts. They're smart. They're also affiliated with the All-Father Odin in Norse mythology and in pagan beliefs as well, several pagan beliefs. But, it's not a bad omen necessarily, but in this case, having it come in a dream and squawking the name of the person, I think that's pretty powerful. If this is a true story, that's very powerful. All right, number 9, our grandfather had cancer for about 6 years. Towards the end of his life, he told my grandmother that if he made it to heaven, After all that he had done, he would send her a rose. Now, he had always tended to a huge rose garden in front of the house, and so this was his signature. A few months after his death, a lot of my little cousins were running around the house. They were about 1 to 2 years old at this time, and the house is pretty massive, so they disappeared and reappear. Isabella went missing for about 20 minutes. After a while of searching for her, she came out of my grandmother's bedroom, where no one ever went in, with one solid red rose. She came up to my grandmother and handed it to her, telling her that Pawpaw wanted her to give it to her for him. He made it into heaven. Oh, that's a beautiful story. That was submitted by Trail_Runner. Those are very profound, and it doesn't surprise me that the kid was the intermediary, because kids don't have the troubles we have seeing this stuff. And so I guess Pawpaw's spirit was able to talk to the child much easier than to the adult. Now the rose, I would think, I would treasure that. It could, because it was manifest, right? I mean, wouldn't you think that that was manifest as a symbol that he made it to heaven? And that's a beautiful thing. I don't know. You almost want to get it tested. Like, is this rose any different from any other rose? It's because it was apported. It was a gift. Apport, A-P-P-O-R-T, is the term utilized when you get unusual gifts from spirits. Like, I found an agate that I'm pretty sure came from my grandfather when I lived in his old house, and it was right on my chair where I just got up from. A beautiful white agate that I'd never seen before. In all the years agate hunting, I'd never seen one like it. And it was just sitting in my chair. And I'd just gotten up, gone to the fridge, turned around, and there it was sitting on my chair. Now, oddly enough, I had always thought, I wonder if Grandpa is happy that I'm here, that we're here in the house. And so I think that was his way of giving me a sign to say, I'm happy you're here, So I always thought that was a beautiful thing, a beautiful symbol. My grandfather, for those of you who may not have heard the story, was very well known for getting up at 5 o'clock every morning, especially during the summers. And he would go out on the beach, which his house butted right up to the beach, and he would walk and look for agates. He loved hunting agates. And so to find an agate on my chair, one that I'd never seen before, and I collected many agates throughout my life. It's kind of a tradition when we're down there for the family just to go look for agates. And to see that one beautiful agate sitting there that, a spectacular color that I'd never seen prior to that, I thought was pretty profound. I'd seen similar ones since then, but the weird part is my oldest son, Sheldon, was sitting just about 4 feet away. And literally, I had to take like 4 steps from the chair I was watching TV to the fridge and turn around. So I know my son didn't go all the way across the couch to my chair, set it down, and then scurry all the way back without me noticing. So it just appeared. It was just there. But to me, that was an apport from my grandfather, and I thought it was a beautiful thing. It was like getting that confirmation. So anyway, number 10 on this list, we got 2 minutes left. I think I can do this. My stepmom died about 4 years ago. My father took it really hard. He had never been particularly religious, and I was never sure about his view on the afterlife or if anything related to it. After she died, he would ask for signs all the time. He just wanted, like people do, to know that she was still existed somewhere. He'd gotten a chain to put her wedding ring on so that he could keep it with him, but it kept falling off. He lost it on a baseball field once, and my whole extended family had to scour the thing to find it. He eventually had to get a chain that had no clasp. It just barely fit around his head, but he put the ring on it and even had it soldered back together so it could not come off. He went to bed one night. I woke up to him yelling for me to come into his room. I ran in, and he points to the pillow next to his. The ring was sitting on it, and he said he woke up and it was just sitting there. The chain was still around his neck, unbroken. I have no idea how that could possibly be without some kind of paranormal activity. I'm going to use that word instead. And I'm grateful to my stepmom for giving my dad that peace of mind. That incident really helped him. And that was Oi of Midworld. Submitted that. That's another beautiful one. I took a creepy photo through my peephole one late night. I think I posted it on the Paranormal Portal Facebook page. I think. Well, I hope you did, Rachel. I'd love to see that. I don't think I've seen it yet, but I'll definitely look for it for sure. That's it for this article. Good. We made it through that one too. I can close that tab. Moving on, the tab killing machine here. We're killing tabs, ladies and gentlemen, as we move through the night. We are about to go into our last break of the night. So again, I understand those of you that are new, just understand we have to do the breaks to stay in sync with the network that takes breaks every half hour. So that's why we do them here on YouTube as well. To those of you that are new, you might want to understand, because every once in a while I still get those questions. I love the show, but what's with all the breaks? That's what's with the breaks. And I could edit them out on the YouTube videos, like the video on demand, but then I'd lose all the chat, and I love the chat as well. That's a big part of our show. So anyway, we're going to be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away for the last half hour of the Paranormal Portal, just around the corner. I'll be doing attendance. Make sure you're here. Guess I better unmute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are into our last half hour of the show. And remember, if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, to stick around because Paisley Wild should be coming up next with The Spaces Between. So I hope you guys will check her out. She also does her show streaming live on YouTube as well. And you can check that out at youtube.com/The Spaces Between. Those are the opportunities for you to see that. I hope you do. She's a wonderful friend and does a great job on her show. So, all right, we have another article here. I don't know. We have 25 minutes left. Wonder if we should do something. I don't know. We could make it through a few of these, but no, I'm not going to get into that one. Here's the one I want to get into here. This one is here, and if we end up getting done a little early, we got some other stories I can put in as little fillers. But this is an article from ranker.com. This is one that I was going to read the other night, but we had so many great phone calls last night that we didn't get to it. But now I'm a fan of this man and his work as an actor and an entertainer, a comedian, all of the above. But he's also a hell of an entrepreneur. And he's got a lifetimes of experience, actually, in his family with the paranormal. And I'm speaking, of course, of Dan Aykroyd. This is coming from ranker.com. Dan Aykroyd is a fourth-generation ghost hunter, ufologist. Where the hell's my mouse? There it is. Ufologist and paranormal master. Well, I don't know if there is such a thing as a paranormal master. That's a really I don't know, inaccurate term, because you can't be a master of something that you don't understand. And none of us really understand what the paranormal is. We just understand it's happening. But Dan Aykroyd, of course, is one of the characters in the original Ghostbusters movie, and Ghostbusters 2 as well. I can't remember which one he was. He wasn't Venkman, but what was his name in there? I can't remember. It's gone from me. But I've seen him interviewed, and I was really thrilled because he's very much a believer in the paranormal and in UFO phenomena. He's had several experiences himself. I heard him interviewed where he talked about an experience with the Men in Black, and that was really pretty amazing when he was recording a show about UFOs and the paranormal. And I think it was specifically about UFOs, but he had a Men in Black encounter, seeing them in a very weird, surreal kind of way. Like it wasn't quite of this world, but it was something he was able to perceive and see, and it's very interesting. But here's the article, Dan Aykroyd. Let's see. This is written by Jacob Shelton, October 25th, 2018. It was updated. It says, Dan Aykroyd, the Canadian comic master behind Ghostbusters, Saturday Night Live, and the Blues Brothers, is a ufologist. And now that Dan Aykroyd is essentially retired from the comedy game, he spends his time researching paranormal activity, alien abductions, and UFOs from his haunted farmhouse in Canada. He also has an incredible liquor business. They sell their vodka and stuff in these skull glass bottles. And he fashioned that after the crystal skulls that were, found in South America. So I got a cat hair or something on my nose from my microphone, and it's driving me crazy. Let's see. It says, Aykroyd has no qualms being open about his belief in the obscure and occult. He talks about it freely. Some even refer to him as a master of the subject. So what does it take to be a paranormal master? I just hate that term, paranormal master. How the hell do you become a paranormal master? I studied paranormal for years. According to Aykroyd, a lifetime of commitment to the truth and a family that believes in uncovering the mysteries of the universe. His family farmhouse has a spiritual history. Aykroyd isn't some Johnny-come-lately to the paranormal investigation game. The Aykroyds have been searching for the truth about ghosts for a while. Their history dates back to the comedian's great-grandfather, who was a spiritualist and dentist. Aykroyd still believes the family farmhouse that has been host to seances and spiritualist get-togethers for decades. Aykroyd says the house has a history of spiritual activity that would blow your mind. Despite living in the spooky farmhouse, he's yet to have a direct experience with an apparition as an adult. He claims the ghost of a famous musician liked to cuddle in bed. One of the many houses owned by Dan Aykroyd is the Los Angeles bungalow, where notable musicians like Mama Cass, the Mamas and the Papas, Ringo Starr lived in the 60s and 70s. When Aykroyd lived in the home, he claimed a ghost, which he believed to be the spirit of Mama Cass, was haunting the place because someone would turn off his Stairmaster and mess with the family jewelry. But perhaps the biggest revelation Aykroyd made about the ghost, it even once crawled into bed with me. I rolled over and just nuzzled up to whatever was there and went back to sleep. I'm sure it was Mama Cass, because you get the feeling it's a big ghost. She was a big lady. He says he has seen 4 UFOs. In 2015 interview with the Huffington Post, Aykroyd tried to play it cool about the fact that he's witnessed a series of phenomena that would drive ordinary people crazy. When asked about his experiences with extraterrestrials, he said he's seen 4 UFOs, though he's not sure if they were alien or human. I can't say that they are alien craft, and neither can the Air Force. The Air Force has been very interested in this. They don't deny the existence of these hyper-dynamic, super aerodynamic craft. 2 of the craft, he claims, were seen one night in Martha's Vineyard, and he said they were flying side by side, and they were about 100,000 feet up, and they were going fast. He purchased UFO footage from a tarmac worker at O'Hare Airport, and there was a famous sighting of a UFO above, just hovering above a jetliner, and then it just suddenly shot up through the clouds, leaving a perfect circular hole in the cloud as it ascended. So maybe it got some footage of that. On November 7th, 2006, an employee at O'Hare International Airport allegedly saw a large disc floating in the middle of their airspace and recorded footage on the event. The footage never turned up, but Aykroyd supposedly has it. He claimed to have purchased the footage from a tarmac worker. After announcing he has the footage, Aykroyd alleged he would be releasing a DVD with the never-before-seen footage and photographs. Some of it made it into his documentary, Dan Aykroyd Unplugged on UFOs. He believes aliens walk among us. Many people believe aliens are flying through our skies at night, but Aykroyd believes extraterrestrials are already here and living among us. In 2010, he appeared on Larry King Live and made the claim, "We're living in a they live scenario, albeit without the cool sunglasses." He explained to King that while the aliens are living as our friends and neighbors, they haven't shown themselves because they don't want anything to do with us. Well, why are they here then? If they don't want anything to do with us, must be some other place they can go. Ghosts visited Aykroyd as a child. When Aykroyd admits he's had somewhat bad luck with seeing full-body apparitions as an adult, as a child he was apparently a ghost magnet. He claimed that when he was a kid, there was a time when his mother, a skeptic, actually saw the ghosts of his great-grandparents watching him sleep. My mother speaks about the time when she was nursing me and an old couple came to the end of the bed. The image faded away. She pulled out an album and saw that it was my great-grandmother, Sam, and Jenny, his wife, her great-grandfather, Sam, and his Jenny, his wife, coming to approve of the new child. He has a documentary called Dan Aykroyd Unplugged on UFOs. Yeah, we kind of drew that from the earlier paragraph. But in 2006, Graviton Productions released the documentary Dan Aykroyd Unplugged on UFOs. The film follows Aykroyd as he talks with author and fellow ufologist David Sarita about the potential existence of alien life. The documentary also features interviews and footage from the likes of astronaut Gordon Cooper, NASA engineer John F. Schuessler, and President Ronald Reagan. I wonder where this photo... Oh, this is a Shutterstock photo. Okay. All right. He thinks there should be more science in parapsychology. As much as Aykroyd loves the fantastical elements that go along with hunting ghosts in ufology, he believes there should be more legitimate science applied to parapsychology. He thinks there would be major discoveries if physicists began analyzing ghosts. He explained to the Daily Beast, "Are oxygen and nitrogen and hydrogen molecules coalescing to produce these visions in front of people? I'd love to see if some research were done on materialization." As an example, he discussed mediums who were able to produce fully formed limbs from their mouths, and he thinks it would be nice to get some DNA and see if it's the DNA of the person exuding the mass of ectoplasm or the DNA of another being. Huh. That's some pretty huge claims. He thinks the government knows about UFOs. I agree. I think he's right. Aykroyd believes the government is aware of extraterrestrial life, and he also thinks they are keeping it a secret for a reason. When talking to the Huffington Post, Aykroyd said, "The Air Force cannot just come out and admit there are extraterrestrial beings far in advance of our culture that have built these machines." Furthermore, according to Aykroyd, the government can't openly say there are many species coming and going to Earth every day without people losing faith in the structure of the government and causing a complete breakdown of society. I don't think it'll matter a little, not even a little, because, I mean, we've already got admissions from Pentagon and the Navy that they have videos they can't explain, and which are more than likely some form of extraterrestrial craft, in my opinion, but maybe extra dimensional. But anyway, Crystal Head vodka is his nod to an alleged Central American alien discovery. Oh, Central America, not South America. My apologies. When Aykroyd introduced Crystal Head vodka in 2008, he was making a direct reference to the legend of the Crystal Skulls that also appeared in the movie Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Before rolling out the vodka, Aykroyd said he was nervous about incurring the wrath of Steven Spielberg. Unfortunately, when the two men met to talk about their similarly named products, Spielberg requested the vodka be served at the film premiere. Speaking to The Telegraph, Aykroyd claimed the vodka is made in the last government-owned distillery in the world in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, and had won a double gold medal at the Spirit Oscars. Wow, good job. His father wrote a book about paranormal activity. In 2009, Aykroyd's father, Peter Aykroyd, released an exhaustively researched book called A History of Ghosts, which tells the story of the rise of spiritualism in the Western world while paralleling it with Aykroyd family history. Speaking about the book and paranormal research, the Ghostbusters star said, "It's the family business, for God's sake." Much of the material in the book was recorded by Peter Aykroyd and his father, Samuel Aykroyd, during seances while researching the book. Peter Aykroyd found the notes locked in a trunk and began working them into the book. He believes in some kind of afterlife. Good on you. Even though Aykroyd is a total believer in spirits and extraterrestrials, he's still not sure about what happens after we die. When asked in a 2012 Telegraph interview, he feared death. The multi-hyphenate actor / paranormal investigator / vodka aficionado said he knows the spirit survives, but he hopes he's not sliced in half by a plate glass window. Aykroyd said his preferred way to pass from his mortal coil would be to pass through the veil in my 90s at the farmhouse by the lake where the seances took place with all my great-grandchildren around me. That'd be if you get to pick it, that'd be a pretty good way. His father approved of the opening scene in Ghostbusters. Since Aykroyd comes from a family of parapsychologists and paranormal investigators, you might think they were tough on him for taking the family business and turning it into a comedy goldmine in Ghostbusters. That's not the case, said Aykroyd. His father, Peter, was elated with the film and thought that the opening scene, where a ghost completely wrecks the basement of the New York's Public Library, was incredibly accurate. Peter Aykroyd told the Daily Beast, "It was a pure poltergeist phenomenon, absolutely true to form. Let's face it, he was writing this thing from conviction. There was truth in that, even though it seemed fantastic." As much as Peter thought the opening scene was an accurate depiction of a poltergeist, he did feel the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was a bit much. Well, it wasn't meant to be a documentary, but that's a little inside scoop on Dan Aykroyd, and I think it's awesome because he's such an intelligent guy. If you ever watch him, from this article, it doesn't really, it gives you an idea that he has a lot of opinions on this stuff, but when you see him interviewed, he really does talk like a person that really is not prone to flights of fancy. He talks from a very matter-of-fact, knowledgeable manner. And I can't help but believe that, he's probably right on a lot of his assumptions. Of course, there's a lot of speculation in any of this, and nobody's going to be all right or all wrong because we just don't know. But if you ever get a chance, check out some of his interviews. He appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast and his YouTube stream. You might be able to find it on YouTube still, or it might be on Spotify. I don't know which. But it was an incredible interview and really, really insightful, in depth. And they also talk about the vodka there. So there's a lot to glean from that interview, but it was very well done. So I think if you'd like to learn more about Dan Aykroyd, definitely check out his interview on Joe Rogan's podcast. Definitely check out his YouTube videos that are out there where he's talking about his Men in Black appearance, that he saw the Men in Black. It's really a fascinating story. And it really does seem like it happened outside of the reality that we live in, but still inside of the reality we live in. Like it was kind of this in-between event, and it's very strange, but very interesting all the same. And it was, as he was filming his pilot for a TV show he was pitching and had got approved, it was basically, he suddenly just got strangely shut down. And it has to do with that, he believes maybe it was something to do with the Men in Black. I don't know. Now, here's an interesting tidbit, is that, I think these shows, like the UFO shows, like UFO Hunters, I did talk to Bill Burns once, and he told me they were at times visited by people from the intelligence community, and those people off the record said, you guys are right on about this, but you're not right about this. You're close, but you're not right. And they kind of just broke down the information and told them where they were right, and then where they weren't right, they didn't necessarily give them the answers, but it's really incredible. And Bill Burns is an incredible guy too. I mean, it was fascinating to have a chance to talk to him. And it was on our first season on the podcast, I think. Yeah, it was first season, not just, we're on our third season now on the podcast. And so look for that. It was Eric Mintel and Bill Burns were on the podcast together, and the fascinating guys. Both of them were wonderful people, but very interesting interview with Bill Burns. And he also gives some background on his opinion of Paul Hellyer. And I'll just encompass that to say, and Paul Hellyer is the former Minister of Defense from Canada. I will just say that Bill Burns is not overly impressed with that guy. I won't go into the details. It's not my story to tell, but if you want to hear it in Bill Burns' own words, listen to that podcast episode in our archives. And you can find it on Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, CastBox, and many, many more. So just do a search and go back into the archives into the first season, and you'll find it. But Bill Burns, and he was one of the stars of the TV show UFO Hunters, and you see him on Ancient Aliens all the time. He's the guy that was always wearing UFO magazine hat, and he's wearing the aviator sunglasses. That's Bill Burns. He's a very, very intelligent guy, and I was very intimidated to interview him because the guy is all over the place, and just intelligently, he's just so incredibly knowledgeable and can cite facts, and boom, boom, boom. It was a great experience. I really enjoyed talking to him. But he's also incredibly busy, so he's hard to track down for a follow-up interview. I'll tell you that. I was very fortunate to be able to interview him. But anyway, we're down to about the 6-minute mark, so I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read this. This one's long. Was this one long? No, this one's good. This is coming from an article from Ranker.com as well. And this is, I guess I could read the first one. It's kind of a creepy story. I don't know if it's accurate or not, but this is coming from Ranker.com, article from their Graveyard Shift segment of their website, and it's creepy stories of encounters with unexplained creatures, and it was written by Sarah Bloomert. Sarah Bloomert, and I don't know when was it written? May 5th, 2020. So last year, just over a year ago. The first one is a tall gray creature with chains chased her through the woods. The weird part about that is you got to wonder, What put chains on that? Did it break away from somewhere? Because there's the old theory of some of these cryptids might have been manufactured. Just saying. All right. Now it says last Monday, but it wasn't literally last Monday. Last Monday, I went through a walk in the woods. I usually go all the time, whether it's spring or winter, and I'm an 18-year-old girl. I'm not very tall, and I don't weigh much, so I'm a pretty fast runner, too. Sometimes it can get really creepy out there in the woods. My mom and grandparents, they live right down the road, always told me if I ever start to feel unsafe out there, I always need to leave. They never said why, but I always figured they were afraid of coy dogs, and it seemed that important. I did listen to them, though. So Monday afternoon, maybe a bit past 4 o'clock, I left to go walking. I'd been out there just 2 days before with no problems, but after walking for about a half a mile, the feeling that I was being watched began. I kept walking maybe a quarter mile until I came to an old logging road. It makes for a quick way around the woods, and it also connects to the road that my house and my grandparents' house are on. I was getting pretty tired of hiking through the snow-covered bushes and logs, and I still felt like something was watching me, and just a few moments before, I could have sworn I saw something moving around in my peripheral vision, so I decided to walk down the logging road instead. As I was walking down it, I heard the sound of chains rattling nearby, and started looking around for them, thinking maybe it was just the chains of a tree blowing in the wind. I couldn't find any chains, and I stopped hearing it after a second. I kept walking and was getting close to my grandparents' land when I heard the chains again. I stopped walking to look around me and check and see if maybe it was something I was wearing, my jacket, my necklace, but it wasn't anything on me. I jumped around to double check and probably looked really stupid, but I knew it wasn't me making the noise. I decided I'd just go to my grandparents' house and walk back to using my actual road, but as soon as I started heading into the woods, I heard something. It sounded like my footsteps had been in time with the second pair that were maybe 10 feet away, which made no sense because there had been nothing there just a moment ago. I took another step and heard something step at the same time from behind me. I didn't turn around. I was too afraid to. It's probably a good thing I didn't. So I acted as if I was going to take a step forward, but stopped my foot right above the snow. I wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy. Behind me, whatever was there, stepped down. I heard the snow crunch, and then it moved forward again quickly. It must have known I figured out it was there. I started running towards my grandparents' land, and whatever was behind me followed. It sounded humanish, and the sound of the chain started up again when it started chasing me. The thing definitely only had 2 legs, and it sounded pretty big. There are a lot of thorn bushes, small trees, and other things that stay around all year, even in the winter. And while I ran around in between them as best as I could, it was just going through them. I glanced behind me for a second, and all I saw was this really tall, gray humanoid blur before I looked back in front of me. The final stretch was terrifying. I could hear heavy breathing and chains rattling just a few feet behind me the entire time, and it sounded like it was almost growling. My grandparents' dog, a very big Malamute Mastiff mix, was out in the yard near the house and started barking but didn't run towards me. He just stayed by the house barking, and then he ran with me to the house when I got close behind him. I ran up to the door and went inside. The dog came in right beside me, don't worry, and slammed the door shut. I didn't hear anything and looked out the window, but there wasn't anything there. The dog was leaning on me and shaking. My grandfather came to the door from upstairs just a few seconds, and I started crying and told him everything. He became very serious and told me, "Don't think about it, just forget it ever happened." I tried to ask him why, but he refused to tell me anything. I tried asking my grandmother too, but she didn't say anything and changed the subject. That's all kinds of creepy, folks. Is it terrifying? Yes, it is. I'll give that a yes. I don't know, folks. But that's the journey into the paranormal portal tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. Thank you all for joining me here It's always a phenomenal pleasure to bring these shows to you, and it's a phenomenal pleasure to see so many of you guys coming in. I do see there's a call, but we just don't have time to get to the call. I'm sorry, I missed that. I should have checked, but we'll talk tomorrow night. If you want to call in, 7 p.m. Pacific time, I'll be here doing the night terrors, but that's all the time we got now. Stick around for Paisley Wild coming up on the Spaces Between. Again, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. Remember to laugh as much as you can. Love you guys. Have a great night. See ya.